We are continuing to see some pretty solid growth on Scarlet and Violet era promos, but we haven't really been seeing it in Sword and Shield. So we're going to be talking about all the promos that are still moving. It's not every promo, some are stagnating, some are declining, but we're going to talk mostly about the ones that are moving up and then do a little bit of Sword and Shield comparison because there are some really, really nice Sword and Shield promos art wise that you just would think that they would be moving a little bit more based on how the market has been. But we're going to start off with the Snorlax here. The Pokemon Center stamped is mostly what we're talking about from the SV era. And interestingly enough, we have seen a few $200 plus sales on the Snorlax. You can see back here on the 23rd, a 204. You got a $200 on the 23rd, and then most recently on the 27th, a $215 sale on the Pokemon Center stamped Snorlax. So cracking that $200 mark, I do think is an interesting price point. You can see right here 77% growth in the past 3 months alone, and in the past month, an additional 20%. So, and then looking back at the year, insane 475% growth. Wild to see. But we do have 44 copies available. If we look at like lowest listeds in the 190s, but then it comes up into the 200s. So it looks like it's just a matter of time before we see more $200 sales on the Snorlax. So cracking that $200 mark, I do think, with the PCETBs being where they're at, it does make sense. But I think the $200 mark is an interesting price point for a Pokemon Center promo. Let me know what you guys think, about how expensive these are getting in the comments below. Also, if we're going to talk SV promos, we do have to talk about the Pikachu with gray felt hat, because there's another interesting sale on this guy on TCG Player. You can see the most recent sale, over $400. You can see there's a few, 350, then 4, then 420. These are all recently. If you go over to eBay, you can pick these up much cheaper in the $300 range, like lower to mid $300 range. So this is one where it's not necessarily reflective, of the market currently for the gray felt hat. But yeah, having an over $400 sale for just a raw near mint copy, and then a few before that. So the Pikachu with gray felt hat still charging up, 78% growth in the past 3 months, just slowly, very steadily, not really like it levels off just for like a few days at a time. And right now we might be at another like leveling off point where it's moving up but very slowly. So it'll be interesting to see where the ceiling is at on some of these cards, because some of this growth is just it's wild and impressive. 12% in the past month, 277% in the past year. I mean, look how long it was an $80-$90 card, for months. So, and then just this very rapid growth. Lowest listed right here, even right here, you can pick it up from a starred seller for $310. And then after that, it does go up in the listings, but that would be below market and way below that most recent sales. So take those most recent sales with a grain of salt. You can't always just go off of the most recent sales. Then we have to talk about the smushed forehead Charmander. He's become a meme. Super adorable card. Amazing art, right? This one's up almost 70%. And this one's nearing another interesting price point. I feel like it's worth talking about. Most recent sale right here at 180. Two right here at 180. Before that, 160s. Another one 179. Right here. This was a while ago. 216. We did have one at 199, and it feels like this is another one that's, this one has stair stepped a little bit more. You can see, comparatively to the gray felt hat. If you look on the 3 month, it looks a little more linear, right? And then you go over to the Charmander, and it's a little more stair steppy. So there are moments for a little longer, like right here. I would say December 26th through about mid January. So, I had a few weeks where it kind of leveled off, then it moves up, then has levels off and moves up. So it really stair steps up nicely on the Charmander. So I feel like, we might be at a step right here before we move up, but $200 for this card seems like an inevitability at this point. Lowest listed right here is around 170, and then it does shoot up. You go a few sellers down, and then we're in the upper 180s for the Charmander stamped promo. And if you're new to the hobby, these are proving to be the PC ETBs and the stamped cards proving to be extremely dominant in this market. Here we have the Squirtle Pokemon Center stamped. This one's up 50%, and this one's getting, look at $164. Lower supply, you can see on the Charmander right here. 26 copies available versus on the Squirtle only 16. So this one's a little bit more scarce. Supply and demand always playing a factor. So yeah, 51% in the past 3 months, 23% in the past month alone for the Squirtle with the Pokemon Center stamp. And this one was on it plateaued for a while and then hit a little bit of a decline. 90s, 80s right here. It declined. Looks like its low was about in early October, and then it's seen obviously the market changed and seen some pretty rapid growth. So still up 71% on the year, but not quite as good on the 1 year as some of those other promos. Lowest listed in the 160s, which is above market price, but does match that most recent sale of 164. So once again, this card taking another step up. Then we have some of the lesser cards moving to a certain extent as well. The Screamtail, which I thought this was a cool version of Jigglypuff, and art-wise, I really like this card. It's just like belting it out on this rock. Anyways. So art-wise, this is one of those like kind of lesser cards, if you will, like just not, it's not the Charmander, the Eevee, the more popular Pokemon, but this version of Jigglypuff is fun, and this card's up, a 75% in the past 3 months. Now this one was, you can see the chart is, kind of stagnant. It grew up a little, it did go from 28 up to 32 and then came back down a little and kind of stagnated. And then more recently, like in the past month, obviously you can see a huge spike in purchases right here. 16 copies here. Currently there's only 10 available, and that seems like that's fueling, this 58% growth in the past 3 months. So promo cards continuing to do really well, specifically the stamped. So yeah, we'll zoom out right here on the 1 year, 443% growth. Another one of those cards with just absolutely ridiculous gains. This was a sub $10 card a year ago, which is wild to think of. Most recent sales, we are seeing some high numbers in here. So once again, take it with a grain of salt. But 93, we got 78, 79, or call this one 80, right? So the Screamtail on its way up. You do have sales as low as 46 in here. But that's not really that far below the current market price of 50. Lowest listed though, this is where it starts to get interesting with the Screamtail. Lowest listed of any seller, 80. And then after that, you shoot through a few of these copies and we're at a $100 card. So, jumping up from 50 to 80 is a pretty huge spike up on the Screamtail. So we're, the Screamtail's, maybe it was undervalued comparatively to some of the other more popular Pokemon, more popular stamped promos, but we're seeing the Screamtail get ready to take another leg up. Now, let's jump back over to Sword and Shield just for a moment, because there's a little bit of something happening, and these Eevee cards, these Eevee promo cards, are some of the most stunning promo cards we've ever gotten. And you can see right here, a big spike recently. It is up 40% in the past 3 months. It shot up from 46, went up to almost 60, and then it kind of stagnated, cooled off a little bit at that mid to upper $50 mark. And then recently we see a huge amount of sales right here, and that's shot this card up to 67. Now, this is one of those cards that's just, not that that these other promo cards like, the Charmander and the Snorlax with the stamped, those are all nice cards and all, but there's art-wise something that really resonates with a lot of these Sword and Shield era cards, but they're not as limited with the stamp, right? So I think that's playing a contributing factor, but you can see a lot of purchases right here. 17 copies purchased on the 26th at around the $63 mark. So just to keep that in reference, 17 purchases. There's only 18 currently available on TCG Player, and just amazing art. I love all the Pokemon in the background, and there's quite a few, if you're not familiar, evolutions of these promos. And Uh, on the 1 year chart, you can see we did have a spike back in June. It did go up to 48 and then came back down. But now, stair stepping up. So it'll be interesting to see where the ceiling is for some of these cards. Lowest listed for an English copy, we're in, you got right around 70 bucks, 68, 70, which is pretty close to current market, just a little bit above, and then we have something that when I pulled this up, the Jolteon, once again, another absolutely stunning card. Like all of them are, the Flareon, everything, right? And there's two versions. You got the V and the V Max of each card. We're not going to pull them all up in this video, but you can see this card on the 3 month charts, it's only up 16%. Back here it was up more, it cracked $60. It was up 32%, but then it's fallen off, and you can see it once again, another massive spike. People are seeing that this is a buying opportunity for this card. In the past month, it's actually down 5%, and you can see at around 51 bucks, 29 copies sold, which is by far you can see, we had 8 sell this day and a few these other days. So a big quantity being scooped up right here on the Jolteon. So someone seeing, hey, these cards are potentially undervalued, scooping those up. And you can see lowest listeds pretty much in the 50s, lower to mid 50s, which is kind of on par for market price. So we'll see where these end up. We do have a most recent sale as high as 70. But right now, like I said, you can pick this up for $52 shipped right here from a few sellers. So just an interesting point. We'll see if this card takes a leg up. You can see the supply obviously being higher. 67 copies currently available versus 18 over here. So it's a little bit easier for this card to move up. Supply and demand always playing a factor. Back to Scarlet and Violet though, to end off the video. We have the Eevee. It's not all just straight up charts, or while the Eevee has been moving, it doesn't necessarily stair step. It does. It's come up, at release 105. It did peak at 121, and then it came back down to 117. So it kind of does a little. It's stair stepping, but it's like scooping down. If you want to, it's not like a flat like some of these other cards where it's just flat and then up and then flat and then up. It does have some retracements happening, and not for too long. You can see right here the peak was the end of January, and then it bottomed out right here, I think. Yeah, so around, it's just like a week, and then it's slowly, and then it starts to move, and now we're cooled off a minute, right, on this this little down tick right here from 130 down to 125. So this will be another one where we'll see probably sell through some supply, and then the Eevee will start to move. This is a card where I've compared this to the Snorlax. I do think that it has potential to give the Snorlax at least a run for its money, if not surpass the Snorlax potentially. Coming from Prismatic, there's a lot of hype, obviously around Prismatic, but a lot of hype around 151 as well. So it's just when I compare, these stamped cards, you go, this is the ceiling right here, cracking 200 right now. And the Eevee still being quite a ways away from that, but that is a possibility for this card. We can see most recent sales as low as 100 right here, and as high as 130. Some in the teens, some in the lower to mid $100 mark. So a little bit all over the place for the current sales, and I think that explains this little dip. So we'll have to see where it ends up. 33 currently available. You can pick one up for less than current market right now, around 120, currently on TCG Player. Then you have another card like the Iron Bundle that it has moved up as well. Pokemon Center Stamp, right? These have been dominant, low supply, 13 copies available. This one's up almost 50% in the past 3 months, around 46, 47%. And you can see, once again, a huge purchase right here. As far as, it's only 27 cards, but comparatively to the supply, that was a lot, and that helped shoot the price up. So we are seeing, we got market just around 40, but one recent sale as high as 66. But if we come down here and look at, that 66 sale, you can pick these up for 40 right now. So it looks like 40 is the market price that's holding. So maybe a leveling off point on the Iron Bundle there. Then we have some other cards, some non-stamped, continuing to move. This is the Mewtwo promo from the UPC, the 151 UPC. This card's up 203% in the past 3 months. from a $5 card up to, around 17 right now. Now this one has a big supply available right now, over 200 copies currently available, and last sold's pretty consistent, like 16, 17. Except for, you got a Japanese copy in here, but 16, 17, fairly consistent, just like steady growth. And 17% in the past month. You zoom out right here, 1100%. I mean, this was, I remember these days, this was at, it almost dipped below $1, right here, $1.08 back in March, for this card. Absolutely stunning card, right? The UPCs were cheap too. There was a lot of stuff that was cheap a year ago, but I don't think this should have been $1 card, obviously. So it's nice to see it gain some value. Absolutely stunning. Wish this would have been included in the main set and not a promo, personally, but still happy to have it, available. And 1100% is wild. So the Mewtwo doing extremely well. You can pick this up for around $16 right now, which would be a little bit barely below market, currently. And we're seeing a similar thing happen with the Mew. Same thing, promo from the same UPC, 94%, almost 100% in the past 3 months, and it's actually down in the past month. It's come off a little bit, hit as high as, didn't quite hit 35, like 34, 35. And it's come back down into the 30s. Now, a lot more of this card currently available, over 300 copies. And last solds, we're seeing mid 20s to low 30s. Some mid 30s on here as well. Pretty consistent sales. Lowest listed, you could pick this up for $31, which is just a little bit above market. So we'll see where it ends up. Another really nice card from the set. But it got a promo, so wide availability. If we do the zoom out right here, not as crazy as the Mewtwo, but still almost 500% on the year. This was more valuable than the Mewtwo by 5 times a year ago. The Mewtwo being like $1, with the Mew being like 5. So this one didn't have as big of growth, albeit now being a $30 card versus Mewtwo only being like a $17 card. Then we have some other cards that are, to end it off. We're almost done. I know there's a lot of promos to talk about, but I like talking about Pokemon cards. I can't help it. So a really nice promo here. Pikachu with the new starters. Now this one has been kind of coming down. You can see it's flat-ish. It's technically down 0.3% in the past month, but in 58% up in the past 3 months. You can see, so it's about a full month that it hit 113 or 114 rather, and it's kind of just hasn't really dropped too much. It's stagnated a little bit, low supply, just barely over 20 copies listed on TCG Player right now. So it cracked that $100 mark, and it's just kind of held there for a little bit. And you can see lowest listeds right now are in the almost into the 110s, the low teens ish. And then after that, you do have some listings higher in the 140s. So if we move through some more supply, we could probably see a run up on this card. It looks like it's leveling out for another run at some point, right? That's what seems like all these cards are doing. And the interesting thing is, for all of these is where are the peaks going to be? Where's the absolute peak, the absolute tip of the mountain, tip of the iceberg, or however you want to look at it. And so that's something that's, I think, very fascinating, just to kind of think about, like, where will these cards end up at their maximum value. So it just seems like every time you think maybe it might be done for a little bit, they just continue to run. So looks like a cooling off period before another run, if I had to guess, just like every other card, for the most part. But the Pikachu, 545% up in the past year. And then we have some SV base promos. You've got the Miraidon and Koraidon Pokemon Center stamped as well. But these ones have really kind of leveled off since about, they've moved up a little, but if you want to call it like even like right here, pretty much from January up till now, and like we're in the last day in February, so pretty much a month, they've kind of just held this price. So you look right here, 1 month chart, it is up like almost 3%, right? So it did move up a tiny bit, like I said, but on the 3 month, 62% growth. We can see most recent sales high 70s, low 80s on the Miraidon and the Koraidon. I feel like, these the Miraidon and Koraidon don't get enough. There's some really nice special illustration rares of these guys as well, and I feel like they just don't get enough love. Possibly, like I don't. Maybe they're just not popular enough. But yeah, I don't know. It's just those SIRs from SV base are just a little undervalued. I feel, in my opinion. I know that's not what this video is about, but sorry, I went on a little bit of a tangent. So yeah, just kind of leveling off right here, and you can see the same thing. The Koraidon not quite as long though, right? The Koraidon, it leveled off right here in December for a while, and then it kind of took off till about early-ish February. So it hasn't been kind of plateaued for quite as long. You can see it's up around 7% in the past month. But Sleepy Koraidon, Pokemon Center stamp. These are nice cards as well, and the exclusivity. What we're starting to see now to end off the video is just that even some of these lesser cards are moving. The lesser stamped, if you want to call them that, they're not lesser, but it's just the lesser valued ones, I guess, if you want to say it, because they all have great art. They're all nice looking, but maybe with like not as popular Pokemon, however you want to look at it. We're seeing a lot of them move. We're seeing some stagnation happen. Stuff can't just explosively grow forever, but it's something that I do find fascinating, just to kind of see how some of these move. Like a lot of the money in the market, it jumps around. We're seeing it jumps to these illustration rares, and it moves around so frequently, right? With stuff that's undervalued, whether it's undervalued or not, or just people think it's a good play. Stuff just like jumps around, and we've seen pretty consistently with some of these promos do really well. So that's all I wanted to talk about in today's video. A little bit of a ramble sesh about some stamped promos, but once again, I like talking about Pokemon cards. So if you guys don't like it, sorry, nothing I can do about it. We're gonna make videos every day talking about Pokemon cards. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and remember, it was never a phase.